Good evening. Welcome to the Selectmen's meeting for Monday, March 27th, 6 p.m. Call the meeting to order. You want to run through the agenda, Mr. Sheedy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we will be going into executive session and followed by public hearings, and then we have about 10 or 12 action items.
Okay, thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So, read the notice.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, close the open meeting and enter into executive session and return to open session afterwards pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations and conducting collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with firefighters, superior officers, clerical, DPW, dispatchers, patrol officers, police chief, deputy police chief. Vote to close executive session meeting and return to open session afterwards. Dave Sheedy, aye.
Peter Spigot, aye.
Carol Julius, aye.
We'll be back.
Thank you. All right, we're back from the executive session and reopening the meeting for Monday, March 27th. I'm going to pass over to Mr. Sheedy, clerk, say a couple of words.
I'd like everyone to just stand for a moment of silence for Fred Tully. He's been a plumber for many, many years in East Bridgewater. Back into 1970s, he was our plumbing inspector for, I think, close to 20 years. He was just a great person. He comes from a great family. He had 8 children. Most of them live in East Bridgewater, involved in a whole lot of things. So just for a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, David.
Open forum.
Okay, we'll start with open forum. Is anyone here for open forum?
Mr. Gardner.
Yep. Okay, Roy, come on up.
Yeah, so my name's Roy Gardner. For this session, or this part of the open forum, I'm here on behalf of Special Olympics Massachusetts. I wanted to pass on the sincere thanks from the entire Special Olympics operation for the 7 weeks we were allowed to use the East Bridgewater football field for the greatly expanded, now going to be annual fall flag football season for Special Olympics athletes. We've already received approval for this fall's 7-week session. I started working as the officiating coordinator for the on-field officials for that about 12 years ago, and we did 2 weekends a year, and a few years later, 3 weekends a year. Last year was the first time we moved to 7 weekends, and we wanted to have it on a turf field, so I went through the process on behalf of Special Olympics and with some request letters from Special Olympics from Massachusetts, and we got the field. We managed to work out the timing, so it's sincere thanks from Special Olympics of Massachusetts and the almost 300 athletes that participate in Southeastern Mass in flag football, and are looking forward to another season using the East Bridgewater turf field.
Great. Thank you, Roy. It's a great program, and I know they did a heck of a job over there, so congratulations to your group as well for putting that on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for everything you did for that. I know how much work that takes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, anyone else from open forum? Seeing nobody, I'll close open forum. We'll move on to
30 on the dot.
public hearing. You want to read the notice?
Mr. Chairman, notice for public hearing is given to the Selectmen for the town of East Bridgewater to hold a public hearing pursuant to determine the public interest to accept the following road as a public way. I would like to just mention the roads, and this would go as printed. Burr Lane, Fieldcrest Landing, Jacqueline's Place, and Meadowbrook Drive. Again, as printed.
Okay, motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. Do we have discussion? Anyone here? Yep, come on up. Yeah, sure. Sit down, just your name and
Sure.
where you live.
Jessica Turcott, 31 Fieldcrest Landing.
Okay.
I'm just asking because I didn't hear Fieldcrest Drive, which is the street to get to Fieldcrest Landing,
Yep.
which is also in need, so I just want to make sure that that's represented.
We did that.
That was last-
Yeah, that was
at
the
the last
last
meeting.
2 weeks ago, that was.
Okay.
Yep,
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Yep.
I love those questions.
I know, right? We already did that. We don't get to say that very
That's it.
often.
Just to go back over.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Because we have a different audience than we had a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Several months ago, the town, through its state legislative delegation, was able to get special legislation approved by the state that would allow the town to accept roads without following the specific statutes that exist right now, all the steps. Instead, we were, in essence, being able to skip a couple of the steps. And through that process, the board has started to hold hearings for the acceptance of those streets, so that if town meeting in May, on May 8th, we'll have articles at the town meeting for the actual acceptance that has to be done by town meeting. We'll have a list of streets, and I certainly think the Board of Selectmen's hope is that the residents of East Bridgewater will vote, in fact, to accept those streets. That would allow the town then to make substantial repairs on those streets. It doesn't mean on May 9th that you will go out there and see the asphalt trucks on your road filling in or redoing the work that had been done. What it does mean is that the DPW can then add those to the list based on what money they have available from the town and from the state government as to how much work they can do each year on maintaining the roads, which would include, obviously, the work that needs to be done on your own roads. But that's, and part of that process is having the hearing tonight. It is one of the requirements that we still need to follow. That's why it's happening tonight.
Yep, thank you. Is there any questions from anyone? Sure, come on up. You want to come on up, or you want to?
Actually, I just want to ask a question. Do you have microphones that actually work?
Mic-
We cannot hear back here.
Can't hear back there? Well, the rooms, the microphones are for, these ones are for the, for TV, I'm assuming,
I
yeah.
gotta sit forward there. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
hear.
okay.
Sit forward or not? I didn't hear a word that gentleman just said.
Okay.
So I don't know when, I'm here for Burl Lane. So it's
Yep.
like Burl Lane.
Yep, okay,
When
so,
you get to that point, just point to me.
we're doing all the roads at the same time.
Huh?
All the roads are at the same
Okay,
time,
all
all right?
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
I have a question. I'm from 10 Meadowbrook Drive. Do you need people to speak in favor, or do we just sit quietly?
Nope, you just sit quietly.
Well,
I mean, can.
be happy about it.
Well, we want you there. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's been a long road, right? Try to get these roads back and then, get a system put together. We've been in communication with John Haynes, who's our DPW director, to try to put a plan together so everybody has understanding of what the needs of each road are and then how we're going to address those needs, because that's really what we're here for. It's obviously nice to get the acceptance back. For the board's part, it was the liability. There was a gray area, like who's liable for these roads if something happens to somebody on these roads where there are private ways instead of being town-owned land. So,
And as a
but
homeowner, that's my question too. You know?
I'm sure. As an insurance agent, that was my question.
Anyone coming onto my driveway, where does my liability start?
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, my name's Robert Sheehan, 35 Meadowbrook Drive. I'm the last house on Meadowbrook Drive.
Okay.
And the end of my street, of course, the whole street itself needs to be done.
Yep.
And I understand that you hopefully are gonna be working on it.
Yep.
After 30 years of living there, and there's other residents been there longer than me.
Sure.
The simple fact, my question is, there's kids that go on that road, there's an older gentleman that walks up and down that road. He'll only go to the end of a certain telephone pole, because the rest of the street is so dangerous to walk on, they'll kill themselves. The little kids are out there, am I right? You bring your kids out there?
And the
And,
school
I mean,
buses go
they're
through
gonna
there.
get hurt.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get hurt because of these roads are so disrepair. And it ain't just this one, I see other towns, other roads in this town that are just as bad.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, you said you're gonna be working on it, is there gonna be a meeting on this
Oh, yeah, they'll have some.
agenda for working on it? We
Sure.
can get a timeline?
Yeah, once we get we're gonna get these roads through. So town meeting is, Charlie?
Town meeting is May 8th.
May 8th, thank you. May 8th is, vote come out, make sure the vote is held up. for the roads, which I don't see any issue with that. But, prior to that, like I said, John Haynes puts together his capital items every year, and what needs to be done, and roads is obviously one of the big ones for them. So, we'll continue to work. The tough part was to get it to here, really, to be quite honest
I
with you.
agree on that. There's no doubt
We
about it.
went through hell and high water to find out exactly what we could do without the 15 steps. And Roy, Roy's my judge. I mean, it was really difficult to get to this point, but we were lucky to find another town, another community that had done it. I believe it was Natick, that we got the information from. And, here we are, trying to get these things passed through so that we get it back accepted. And then from there, I can assure you that we'll work steadily to try to get those roads improved.
Okay, is there gonna be a list on these roads? Certain roads are gonna be done certain ways? Like,
I would assume that, that's a conversation for John, and we'll certainly have that with him to find out, how the rating will go and how the list will be based on the needs.
Will they prioritize it by need? Like,
I would assume so. That would
Yeah,
make
well, I
sense,
would
right?
hope, I know.
I mean, I'm not the
our street's
director.
bad, but I think River
River
is
is
worse
worse.
than ours.
Yeah, there's a few of them, that are.
I'm just concerned for the people that go down there, walk down there, kids that ride bikes down there.
The school
and,
buses.
Everything.
Yeah,
I mean, it
school
ain't
buses
just the
gotta go
road
through there.
itself, it's
Right.
the general public.
Yep, and I agree, and, again, I can't stress enough, though, the liability to me was number one. The roads are bad, I understand that, but, until we got those roads back in the town's hands, it was a very, very, like I said earlier, gray area of what would happen there, and lucky for us, nothing has, and knock on wood.
You're right, yeah.
Could I ask a question also, please? Fred Higgins, I'm at 8 Jacqueline's Place. Two quick questions. One is, it goes to town meeting, simple majority, 2/3? Could it be declined, denied at town meeting? How does that all work?
I don't know what the.
I believe it's, Chris, you're right here, I think a simple majority.
Yeah, it's in the legislation off the top. Normally, it is a 2/3, per street. Because normally you have to, that's because, it's normally simple, but because you have to, get the interest in the street, that's where you need 2/3.
Okay.
But with special legislation we drafted, it's kind of saying automatically we're getting the interest. I'd have to double check.
Yeah, but, the short answer is yes, it could be voted down.
Yes,
But
and it's
thing
a
is-
town expenditure, correct?
Well, all we're doing
On this
that
part.
night is accepting the streets. We're not devoting money specifically
Oh, all
to
right.
each street. But the
That's
thing is,
behind it.
you had another group of residents here a few weeks ago for another group of streets. If all them show up, if all you show up, if all them show up, I don't see this not passing at all. Because you'll have a dozen streets on the
I
list.
just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify
yeah.
whether it's, it's not a done deal.
It is not a done deal, sir,
That's right.
no.
The other question I had, and it's just for my street, actually, is this separate from Rolling Hills?
They're on the list as well.
They're all-
Rolling
So
Hills.
it's one subdivision. I
Yeah.
just didn't know if this street, and they were already approved, or where
Well, no,
they
they'll
stand.
be on the same list, so they
Same
were
list,
the
alright.
last meeting we had 5 or 6 other roads that we went ahead
Good.
and pushed.
No, it just seemed odd that they were separate.
That was
The only
just by error, that was left off, it should
Yeah.
have come in with Rolling Hills.
Thank
Yep.
you, thank
So
you.
we're good.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
Kim Sheehan, Meadowbrook Drive. We bought our house in 1994. This is until about, within the last year, is the first time that I ever heard there was an issue with my street. We financed with a bank, refinanced, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now there's a problem with our street. It's like blindsided. It's like, we had no idea. And like, it's pretty disconcerting, when you say, all this time and we had no idea, and it's like, you buy a house and you think that you know what you get. And one, I have a paper street that runs through my property that was never recorded properly, and then I hear this one, which the paper street is minor compared to this because there's a road there. But it's just, I just think like, somebody needs to take responsibility, and I appreciate the fact that you are.
Yeah, well, same thing with the board. I mean, I've been on now this third year, so I had heard it at a planning board, I think, meeting or something like that, and didn't really understand what they were talking about at that time. So, the board got together and we got together with town council. It was Chris Kenny, who's one of our town councils, and, basically in the planning board, I got together with them, with Roy and his committee, and, we worked hard to try to find a path that we could get to as easily as we could, and lucky for us, we were able to find that, and now we just got to get it, we got to get it passed, and then we'll work on the rest as we go here. Anyone else? All right. We'll have
Make a
Brady.
motion that we close the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Second.
Motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, you're good.
Thank you, everybody. Don't forget town meeting, May 8th.
Thank you very much.
Pardon me? Yes, we did, yep. Thank you.
Troublemaker.
What? Everyone saw it, yes. They know about it, yes.
Fine. May 8th.
May.
I'll remind you.
All right, have a good night.
Bye, Ken.
I hear you, I know. I believe you, believe you. All right. Good stuff.
He must be a reporter because he's talking to everyone.
All right. Got an appointment in a couple minutes.
I think we have to take a vote on,
The roads?
yeah.
Oh. All right, I think the motion was already made and seconded.
That was for the public hearing. We close the public hearing, now we have to make a motion to accept Burr Lane, Fieldcrest, Jacqueline's Place, and Meadowbrook as a part of the accepted streets in East Bridgewater.
All right,
Was
motion's
that the
made.
motion?
Yes.
Second.
All right, motion made second. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Put it on the list.
Done. Done deal.
Okay.
The next appointment's at
Because
6:45, so you'll
You can have that appointment already. That's an appointment. You can
But it's
do.
not a hearing,
It's
so you
just
can
an
do it
appointment. You
earlier.
can do it. You don't have to wait.
Yeah,
Only a public.
it's not a hearing, so.
So, thanks.
All right, next we're gonna go move on to our appointments. We have an appointment, starting a little bit early, but with Knights Estates. Request to connect to Brockton Water System, 6:45. You guys wanna come on up? Boy, do we have the same situation, Ryan?
You guys ready to talk about more roads?
More roads.
It's what we live for.
Well, as long as that door's open.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought we had any door accessible.
Well, as long as one of them is open.
Something to show we're here. All right, you wanna introduce yourself and?
Yeah, my name is Ben Carroll. I'm the applicant of record for the Knights Estates project. This is a 9-lot subdivision that intersects Brockton and East Bridgewater. 2 of the house lots are planned for Brockton, 7 of the house lots are planned for East Bridgewater. We're here, I think somewhat of a atypical occurrence, which is to ask you to help us get water for the site. So I know Roy has joined us, but the planning board throughout our fairly long process of batting this subdivision back and forth. This project was actually originally proposed in 2012. It's been through numerous iterations, but it's arrived somewhere where both municipalities through their planning boards have agreed that it's an acceptable project. Brockton, through the water lines that would feed houses come through the city of Brockton. The city of Brockton has expressed through its water department and through a politician who's written a few letters to the planning board, a interest in denying water to the East Bridgewater portion of this subdivision. The East Bridgewater Planning Board has requested that water be essentially provided to the houses through the city of Brockton. Now I'm here because even though I asked nicely, Brockton doesn't have to give me an individual citizen water. But they do, by my reading of a 1964 statute, have to give you guys water. So there is an act which established the Plymouth County Water District, which essentially says that everybody in the district, which includes Brockton, East Bridgewater, Halifax, gets to take water from Lake Silver. But in exchange for that right, we all have to cooperate and agree to share water when it's asked of us. Now, Brockton has sort of affirmatively decided that they're not going to provide water to this project, and we're asking really for you guys to begin what is essentially a process set out in legislation where you write a letter to the Plymouth County Water District requesting water for this site, and then we would, depending on what level of involvement you want in this, be willing to take enforcing and enacting that from there. Of course, this would require cooperation from the DPW, because East Bridgewater gets to set its own rates for what the water is pursuant to an intermunicipal water agreement. You'd have to negotiate the specific terms of who gets paid. But the issue of whether or not water is to be supplied from one member of this water district to another member, I think is plainly addressed in this legislation.
Okay, Chris, I know town council's here. Have you been able to review any of that information, or could you give us your opinion on?
Yeah, so, I think, I know this matter, the Knights Estates, as far as I know, it's been going on since 2016, so it's definitely been going on for a while. And they were in court, and I did see they end up doing an agreement, a settlement, where within that settlement, they agreed that, the parties agreed, the approval of the revised subdivision plan shall be subject to execution of an intermunicipal agreement between Brockton and East Bridgewater with respect to water supply and other utility services. There was the city of Brockton back in December 29, 2020, there was a letter regarding definitive subdivision from the planning board, and that referenced similar language for the subdivision. Said all proposed water and or sewer connections beyond the city of Brockton shall require intermunicipal agreement. The developer agrees to seek an intermunicipal agreement for water services and or sewer between the city of Brockton and the town of East Bridgewater. Approval of this project is contingent upon such intermunicipal agreement being granted by the city of Brockton. And I also reviewed the reference legislation, the acts of 1964, chapter 371. So that was back from, obviously, quite a ways back. So there is the commission. There's basically a commission and a board. There's a board and a commission, and the board actually has members from each one of the towns, right? So actually, for East Bridgewater, Jason Trepanier from the DPW sits on that. So I had actually spoke with Jason and done some research on this. And so certainly portions, it's kind of like one of these things where portions of the legislation they're kind of following, and other portions they aren't. So given the reading, there's definitely, there's some statutory mandates there. It's just whether or not they've been regularly following them or fulfilling the statutory mandates. So like I talked to Jason about, the language about, hey, if you ask for the water, or potentially if you get, approved or whatnot. And at least since Jason's been on there, they haven't done that. That hasn't been kind of like a regular process that they've kind of followed. And within that, I think that's back, section 10 of that, this is the board, which would be members from each community, shall, upon application by the selectmen of any town named herein, and also with the approval of the commission is a 3-person commission on there. I think it's one member is from the city of Brockton, and then there's 2 other appointees. Supply such town with public water supply. But again, that's, whether or not that's actually been followed, I don't know. But either way, I think that the end note, the final, I think, request, obviously, it would be through an IMA. I mean, that either way, and that's obviously what they had in their settlement and from the city of Brockton. That one way or another, it would have to be, connection.
So just so I'm not lost here, so obviously we just went through our own IMA with Brockton for our sewer district.
Correct.
And working with them. So what you're asking us to do is to work out another IMA with the Brockton for this particular project right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You should have sat in on the last one we worked out with the city of Brockton. Yeah, it would be hard to do. I think I would need some more time to really talk to town council. I'll let you guys speak as well.
No, you go ahead.
here, but
You're doing fine.
to find out exactly, what would it entail, a little bit more in depth on that, because, I can tell you that one of the things that was brought up quite a bit in our conversations was this project, and I know whatever the reasons may be, and I wasn't privy to that information, they are certainly weren't too excited about having this push forward. So, I would have to really, I guess, personally, and then, work on it and then let my other two members know as well, or have them look at it as well, what the benefits would be for the town to enter into an agreement like this, where, Chris worked on this agreement with us with the city. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work, and we're talking about a multi-million-dollar project that we're working on Route 18 versus, how many? 5?
That'd be 7 house lots.
7 house lots, which are only 3 in the Brockton, East Bridgewater area?
7 of them are in East Bridgewater.
Oh, they're all in East Bridgewater.
Yep. So
okay.
it's a 9-lot subdivision.
2 of them in Brockton. Okay, so 7 in Brockton and 7 in East Bridgewater, 2 in Brockton.
Right.
Does that
Yes.
works? Okay. But I'd really have to get an understanding of how much work would go into it before, we would enter into that. I mean,
So one thing I just would like to
Sure.
add while I'm here, this is a project that has certainly been approved by the Brockton Planning Board.
Mm-hmm.
They not only endorsed it, but they've allowed an extension because of how long a lot of this process has taken. It's been allowed to the point that we're at to the East Bridgewater, by the East Bridgewater Planning Board. We thought it important to have water lines in the street for this project. Now, the addition of water lines to this project, and I know it's a lot of work for the town, but that's a line item that'll cost me about $117,000 as a developer sitting here, running those pipes, doing the associated trenching work with that. And that's been specifically requested by this town for me to do at that site. So I would just say, out of sort of the equity of this, I would ask that be considered when deciding whether or not you'll press forward an intermunicipal water agreement.
Yeah, look, what this board is very pro development, for sure. I mean, we know, and every town runs into the same thing. Like, money is what runs the communities, and we need to continue to find ways to bring that revenue in, whether it's, on the commercial end or the residential end, and if it's an area that certainly weighs into, what our decisions are. On the flip side of that is we have a relationship with the city of Brockton right now that's, pretty firm. One of the only towns that they have allowed this type of project to come in. There's been other communities that have asked for what we've asked for, and the door's been shut. So I take that relationship very serious at the same time. So there's numerous factors that go into this that I just gotta, get some information, let both Carol and David get that information, and then really absorb, what this board does, because I just think a hasty decision either way wouldn't be right, going forward right now. I mean, David,
Chris, can I just ask you, could you, a little bit more on what is the responsibility of the commission and what's the responsibility of the board? As far as this, maybe I'm looking for a way around an intermunicipal agreement, because I'm not too sure Brockton's ever gonna do that with us. Does the board have any
Within that
final say?
legislation?
Yeah,
You mean the commission and the
Yes.
board within that agreement? It's not, it's not the best written piece of legislation. It's very confusing, and it makes it more confusing because it doesn't seem like they really, at least in, I've done some research and obviously talking to Jason, but I've seen some of that other criticism and some of the research I've done, like, they're not really following the mandates they've received. So then, sometimes that becomes the argument, like, all right, certainly what's written down is sort of written down, but then, it's interpreting how they've actually, followed it in the last, since it's been, since its inception. But I think that was kind of one of the key areas was, the board they kind of clarify the board is an advisory board. And so they.
advisory to the committee?
Advisory to the commission, to the commission. And they advise, and speaking with Jason, it's kind of in this legislation too, a lot of it is, and I think it seems like a lot of what they do is they talk, they do a lot of water quality service studies, and anything they can do, you know, and part of the legislation is also, finding different sources. I mean, I think you have the main sources are there, those ponds that they're using. I don't know how, other than, you know, drilling, other than going down for wells, I don't know how much, you know, more there is around there. But that was in speaking with Jason, he said that's one of the key things they look at is obviously they want anything they can do to, you know, do water studies, improve water quality, for the resources or whatnot. But that was one of the, in terms of if it was this thing, if it was where this would be implemented, that's kind of like, that came into the key area about the ask, is that section 10, where it says the board, you know, so if a board of selectmen did ask, it would be, this three-person commission would have to approve, and that would go to, you know, that town, named town would get the water supply. Again, that's how it's written in actual, how it's, you know, how it's actually been interpreted and played out in the last, since its inception. Again, you know, probably do a little more research. The other thing too is, I think like Peter brought up, you know, it's great that it says that, but you know, we still have to get it IMA with Brockton, and if Brockton says no, and then where we at, or, you know, that can get expensive, obviously, and as Peter said, you know, was it took, you know, it was a lot to get the sewer IMA done.
I would just add to that, I think what's important to me here is that I don't really have rights in seeking an intermunicipal agreement for this project until you ask for it.
Mhm.
And so what I'm saying is, I'm a trial lawyer, I do this every day, and I would say that once you ask for it, I'm willing to do the rest. Whether or not the town wants to be involved in that is fine, but I think it would position me in a way where I could seek legal action to enforce what I think is what the city of Brockton through their planning board has said, we get water to this project. And now there really is an individual politician who's saying, I will not approve water to this site. And it leaves me in a spot where
So
I'm
I
stuck.
understand, because it's obviously, you know, you got a select board versus the
Yeah.
council. So you go to the planning board presses it forwards to the council, and then it's a.
Nope.
oh.
So the planning board approves the site, and they approve the site with essentially a look at all of the appurtenant fixtures to the site. So they approved this entire project with sewer, with water, for all 9 lots. And they thought it, quite frankly, they came out and said that this is a public benefit to the city of Brockton to sell this site, sewer services and water services. And then when it came time for us to request water, because I also own a house next door to this, which is half in Brockton, half in East Bridgewater. So I've used that as sort of a test subject. When it came time to request water and sewer for that site, I was told there is not a political appetite. The only way for us to get water to either of these sites is for the city councilor for the ward to actually bring that vote forward to the city council, and it's a separate issue for water. So even though the city has endorsed, signed, stamped, and recorded plans that show water lines, according to the way the city of Brockton does business, our project doesn't get water until an individual politician who's opposed to this project decides that it's worth bringing to the.
So they hasn't brought to the council.
Correct. And there's been a.
That's what you were talking about, with one sits on the commission, this counselor must sit on that commission, I would assume.
This council.
Yeah, I think she is. And then, so the planning board's approval was contingent upon the NIMA, is my understanding.
So the planning, the settlement agreement that you're referring to has been edited pretty extensively through our return to Brockton, and the portion about the project being contingent upon an IMA has since been removed.
Oh, okay.
I'd be more than happy to circulate that with anybody who's interested.
That would be helpful.
But,
Have we talked about wells yet?
yeah, we talked about wells and.
All right, so
we're-
can I,
I have
because we got an issue here, it's gonna have to get resolved, that we're gonna be back with a legal bill. Because we can't approve this subdivision without public water being available. All right, it's right within the potential cone of influence of the Thatcher Street landfill and the city of Brockton landfill, they're right behind this. We can't allow wells to be built or to be driven and have 7 new homes in the town of East Bridgewater, which are gonna sell for $500,000 to $700,000. To a month or two down the road, not have public water because that means those houses are condemned. Under state law, you don't have potable water in the house, you can't live in the house. So we're gonna have to deny, this has been in litigation, started in 2012, came back and was reapplied for in 2016, and it's been litigating since then. Most of that litigation has been with the city of Brockton, because originally they kept denying it. They've now approved it with what one of their counselors said, doesn't matter, we approved it, so they can't litigate with us, but we're not gonna let them have water. And they already know that we can't reasonably approve this without public water being there. So we're gonna end up back in litigation again, because if we don't have a commitment from Brockton for public water, we're gonna have to deny the subdivision. Then what's gonna happen is, the litigation is gonna come back to us. And then it's gonna iterate back to Brockton, and it's gonna stay in court indefinitely. That state law is pretty clear. It's not Brockton's water, it's a regional district. The law says clearly all members within the region have a right to the water by simply asking. Now, this particular case is a bit unique in that the only way to get the water off that line that runs from Silver Lake to Brockton is through a Brockton water main off that street. Other towns have a right to tap that main as it goes through their town without even talking to Brockton.
Yeah, like I said though, Roy, I mean, my concern is, you know, the town of East Bridgewater has, you know, has a relationship with the city of Brockton, and, you know.
I understand that. We've
I
been
am
working
not
on that
going
stuff for
to
a long
make a
time.
decision based on, you know, a 9-house sublot on a multi-million-dollar project till I have a clearer idea of what I'm entering into. It'd be political suicide for us to do that.
Not disputing that.
Just so I have no objection to continuing this and having another meeting here. That's not
I need a little bit
even-
more information how one city council can block an
Yeah.
entire project.
Well, so the city of Brockton's rules and regulations around creating an intermunicipal water agreement involve the city councilor from the ward in which the interconnection is to occur
Okay.
has to sponsor a request for an intermunicipal water agreement. And she has written, this isn't secret information, she's written this to the planning board, I think across 2 or 3 letters throughout the application for this, that she would adamantly oppose bringing such a bill or request forward. Does that mean theoretically another city councilor couldn't bring it
Right, that was my next
on behalf of the
question.
project? I'm not sure, because every time I've reached out to try to ask, I've candidly gotten no response from the Water Commission, their response has been,
Maybe I can ask.
there is not a political appetite to provide water to the site.
Yeah, we can certainly
Yeah.
do some research on our end.
Let's
to find
continue this.
Where we're at, I just, like I
Let's ask
said.
Can we
few
get
more
copies of that
questions.
correspondence too?
Yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
like to see those letters.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, so let's,
Yep.
Chris, you know, in our weekly meetings, let's add this to,
Oh,
you know,
sure.
our agenda. What we're trying to do.
Man,
So-
it's such a catch-22.
Oh, my gosh.
Do this if you don't do that.
Right.
Can't do that if you don't do this.
Okay.
It's a long haul project.
Yeah, if we
Yeah.
can get copies of that, let me,
All right, and we'll continue this.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you guys for your time.
thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Roy.
So just for, and I apologize for not finding it earlier in my pile of papers, but for the acceptance of those roads at town meeting, it is a 2/3 vote according to the local initiative bylaw.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone's gonna have any.
I can't
It's
either.
town meeting. We make no assumptions
Yeah, someone can
about
sit
what
there and
people
say,
may or
"Well,
may
this-
not object
My
to.
road has to be done, you know, they're gonna come and fix my road.
It's, yeah, it could be. I wouldn't expect it to be controversial, but it's town meeting, you never know.
Yeah, you know, that's true.
I've
It's
seen them
just-
fight
it's
over a
just
file
for-
cabinet.
Let's move on to a pleasant subject.
Yes, let's go.
Puppies.
Come on up. We have an appointment with the police department.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
That's okay.
You can have it after.
Thanks for having us. So obviously, we're here, myself, Deputy Chief Jenkins, and School Resource Officer Connor. mainly just this, it's about a community resource dog, or on the agenda item, it says comfort dog. That's technically what people refer to more in the private sector as a comfort dog. The community resource dog is something that a lot of local police departments have gone to or go until you'll see in the news. I mean, just some of the surrounding towns that already have community resource dogs are Hanson, Abington, Whitman's coming soon, Holbrook, Brockton, Hingham, Attleboro, Plymouth, Somerset, Brewster, Rentham, Sharon, Mass State Police, Dedham, Randolph, Weymouth, Hanover. Those are just some of the communities near us that already have them. There's several other communities, outside of our, our general region that have them. A lot of people going in that direction. So just to give you a little rundown, a community resource dog, the one we're pursuing, if you look, her name is Canine Morgan. She's 6 months old. She's a yellow lab. And so how it works is, just to give you a little rundown about the resource dogs and how they've come about. Since the pandemic, East Bridgewater Police, I'm just going to read a little brief,
Sure.
paragraph. It'll be easier just to,
Yep.
Since the pandemic, the East Bridgewater Police Department has seen an influx of calls for service due to mental health concerns. Mental health calls have not only increased in adults, but also with children. The number of children being transported from school or home for mental health issues has increased dramatically. More and more kids are suffering with some type of mental health issue, and the mental health facilities are full, and often finding a facility with a bed takes weeks and months. Many of the South Shore towns that I mentioned, they've already started the community resource program. And just to give you a little bit of a community resource dog, they're dogs that are specially trained and can be used for different, many different things. Most people think a comfort dog when they hear about police departments having a community resource dog. While being a comfort dog is a huge part of what a community resource does, it's not the only thing that they can be used for. The function of the community resource dog is to provide interaction during investigations involving children or adults, to help reduce anxiety, increase communication between adults and child victim, witnesses, investigators, and provide comfort for people during times of crisis. Also to provide aid and to comfort individuals, groups, communities impacted by violence, tragedy, and traumatic events. The community resource dog is also a valuable tool for fostering dialogue and communications between the police department and the community we serve. So just to give you a little bit about it, just some of the different uses it can be used for. Patients with Alzheimer's, dementia, where we have, a few 55 plus in town as well, and some rest homes, et cetera. So the dog it's for the community. They can be trained further on. Once they're trained as a community resource dog or comfort dog, they can also be trained for different things, whether it's tracking. If you want to go down a different angle, you could go bomb and gun detection, but that's primarily what, like Thor right now is in training, but Thor is in training right now for opiates and drugs, so the dogs can do specialty training. The difference between, someone like a canine, like a Thor is more of a patrol dog, a tracking dog, and they can do other specialties as well, so can the comfort dogs.
Right.
A community resource dog can be used to help fill the gap between a traumatic event and a mental health event. Having a community resource dog can help restore a person's emotional well-being. It just helps having the dog around. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of it in the papers, et cetera, and different, their abilities. So just to give you a breakdown about Morgan, Morgan is technically on hold for us. Just to give you a breakdown of the overall, we're looking for, for the blessing of the town and the selectmen and the board and everybody. Morgan's 6 months old, yellow lab. She's already begun her training. So the cost for the dog overall, Professional Canine Services out of Middleborough, they've already done dogs for a few different departments in the area. I think I got a list here. They've provided dogs to this area for Brockton, Plymouth, Attleboro, Franklin, Somerset, Brewster, and Swampscott. So the cost of the dog, we looked at a couple different options. We started looking at this about a year or so back. Some of the dogs out there were really big money, $15,000 to $20,000, so it was kind of out of our reach. They've become, with Professional Canine Services, their cost for a dog is $6,000. For the $6,000, which we already have that in donations. The Plymouth County DA's office was kind enough to donate $5,000 towards a dog, and a couple of private donors have offered. Gary Whitmore and his wife from Whitmore Yard Care have already donated $500 towards the dog, and also in town, which Talitha can speak a little bit after about. She does a great job with, the schools, including the High Road School. They're willing, they're gonna give $500 towards the dog as well. So that covers the cost of the $6,000 for the dog. $6,000, like I said, that includes her training, a collar, a leash, the vest harness, which is required, and that's for the cost of the dog. So that would be covered to the $6,000 of donations. The only other cost we'd have to incur is, once we acquire the dog, it's $100 per month for the training. So the school resource officer who the dog would be assigned to should go to training once a month. It's $100 a month. So overall, it'd be $1,200. Based on some of the funds we've, just to give you a little history on Canine Thor, Canine Thor that we currently have, to this date, has yet to cost the town a dime. In the sense that we did big fundraisers, we raised over $30,000 for Mass Vesta Dog. We did a couple other fundraisers, so in that count, Thor, the only thing we pay for Thor, pretty much, and that's from the money we raised, is the monthly bills, is like to feed the dog, and obviously they have their vet bills for the annual checkup. So it'd be very similar for Morgan. So it would be the $6,000, which we've already raised in donations. We'd have to, we have the money for the additional, for the training, and then we have some money within the Canine account. We could pay for, the food, et cetera. And in the future, we plan on having a fundraiser. So to maintain the dog, once we acquire the dog with the training, it's approximately $1,800 to $2,400 a year, or about $100, $150 a month. Food is about $100 a month, and then whatever medical bills or services that you need through the vet. So really, that's really, the cost of the dog is $6,000. It doesn't require its own take-home vehicle in a cage like a patrol canine does, because a patrol canine is taught to bite.
Yeah, right.
These dogs are taught to lick, so we don't really.
These dogs snuggle.
Yeah, these dogs snuggle, they provide comfort, so it wouldn't require a cruiser, a take-home car, anything like that, some of the different things that patrol canines require.
Right.
They require, to have a vehicle outfitted, which cost us probably about $10,000, $15,000, but that was all through Mass Vesta Dog donations that we were able to get the canine cruiser for Thor. So we wouldn't need a take-home cruiser. Pretty much the cost would, like I said, would be about $100, $150 a month, which we could definitely cover without any expenses upon the town.
Yeah,
So
right.
primarily, I'll let Talitha speak a little bit on it. She's the school resource officer, for those that don't know. And pretty much these dogs are assigned to the school resource officers. Whitman Hanson, Abington, and a few other towns, the dog goes usually with the school resource officer. So Morgan would be assigned to Officer Connor, and I'll pass it over her, give her a little bit on it.
So last year I had gone to a training, and many of the school resource officers were there with their canine dogs. One of the officers who works for Babson College, he has 2 dogs. He's originally from East Bridgewater. He offered to come in with the dogs. So at the end of last year, I think it was like June, he brought both the dogs in, and we took them to the middle school, we took them to the central school, and we took them to the Council on Aging. Huge hit. The kids loved them. A couple of the kids ask every single day how Roger is doing, which was one of the dogs that we brought in. The kids loved him. They were great. Just huge hit. The Council on Aging loved him as well. So I think it would be
The
definitely
Board of
beneficial.
Selectmen would love it too, so,
And once again, it's a community resource dog.
Yeah, right.
It's not a
Right.
patrol, or it's not a canine, it's not a police dog, it's a community resource
Yeah.
dog. It just happens to be assigned to our school resource officer.
One of the schools I cover, the High Road School, is an alternative placement school. So it has a lot of the highest needs kids. They're not East Bridgewater kids, they're from all over. But a lot of those kids are in DCF custody, live in group homes, they really just not good situations. So I think having that dog to be able to go in to see them would be huge as well.
yeah.
We have kids that take off from there all the time, leaving in ambulances. So I think it would be definitely beneficial for them, and they've offered to give us some money towards it as well.
Great.
Dave?
All right, I was, just happened to drop by the Memory Cafe they had up at the senior center today, which they have once a month for dementia and Alzheimer's people with their caretakers. Would that be like a session you could bring up there to, I would think it would be tremendous for these people, just to have someone like that, just use the word cuddle, snug, whatever you want, you know, away from their everyday thing. And but could you, what is the, I know when we talk about Thor, we're talking about a nasty dog that can rip your face off in about 3 seconds, upon, you know, being told to do so. But this comfort dog you can take just about anywhere as long as you're handling
Correct,
the
yep.
dog.
The dog will be trained on, like, different socializations. They'll go to different locations. They'll be trained on different surfaces, mud, water, dirt, so, like, they won't be skittish towards, like, noises, anything like that. Like, that will all be included in the dog's training.
And they're trained and they are officially certified, is that?
Yep, they will be certified through,
Official
Professional.
certification comes through, okay.
Correct.
Okay, how could you not?
Right.
Look at this picture.
I know. I think this is the best thing I've heard all week. Yeah, can you like zoom in on the face of the dog? Because look at that face.
Every
Oh.
chief or deputy.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a yellow
Oh,
lab.
yeah.
That's what we had,
They're
so,
beautiful.
you know.
But
Yeah.
every chief or deputy chief or that I followed up and spoke with said they wish they had one 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really helped diffuse a lot of situations, and like I said, you know, since the pandemic, the mental health stuff is really on the rise. and
We
It's a great
request,
help.
I take Morgan home for one night.
No, can we check her out? Like, bring her to the library and check her out?
absolutely.
Without Patrolman Connor there, can we
All right.
just take the,
No,
I
it's-
might need comfort.
nice.
It's a great, it's a
Yeah.
great addition, right? Coming from Thor and then coming in here, but even beyond that, I mean, you bring Talitha in here, who's Quinn's favorite of everybody. You
One of
could get
my-
a helicopter if you need it. You know, she'd kill me if I didn't give her whatever she wants.
So you're gonna abstain?
Yeah, I probably have to. Probably not fair, but no, I think it's a great idea.
I think it's wonderful.
I do too.
Great service to the community.
So I make a motion that we allow the East Bridgewater Police to bring in the comfort dog Morgan
Second.
for
All right.
the use of the
Motion's
town.
been made and second. Any more discussion? No, you good, Charlie? Like the dog? You're all set?
I got one at home.
All right.
I was gonna say, is Junie gonna be
Junie-
upset?
Junie's good.
All right.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
We're getting a puppy.
We'll keep everybody posted. We have some fundraisers planned. We're just putting the logistics together, and once we get.
What's the time frame now?
Uh,
When you think?
We're gonna move on it pretty quick.
Good.
So, because technically, if we didn't move on Morgan was.
Somebody was probably waiting for her, right?
Morgan's the only trained one he has right now, so he
Great.
kind of like let us know, like, they
Yeah,
have to know. So
excellent. Good. Thank you.
Great.
It's gonna move quick. We'll keep you updated.
All right, send photos.
Thank you, folks.
Good night. All right, bye-bye. All right, moving on to our action items.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the, excuse me, March 13th, 2023 Board of Selectmen meeting.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve but not release the minutes of the March 13th, 2023 Board of Selectmen's executive session meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to review and possibly vote on a schedule change request from EBCAM.
Come on.
That's
down.
why you're here.
Yeah, last one standing.
Yeah, how many times have you been on the other side of this?
It's a weird experience.
All right, there it is.
But the reason I'm here tonight, and I will try and make it as brief as possible, because I know you guys are busy. Ann Kerrigan, my assistant director, is now a grandmother and has an adorable granddaughter.
Very cute.
And her daughter is soon going to be coming off maternity leave and going back to work. So Ann basically would like to take part of her schedule out and work 32 hours versus 40 hours so that she can take care of her grandchild. Now, Ann has done some research and actually touched base with myself and with Zach. We're a very small office, so it's good that she did the research. And in her words, she doesn't want to leave us shorthanded because on Fridays, we have basketball games, we have football games, we have softball games, and that's the day that she was planning on working with her granddaughter, taking care of her granddaughter. So what she was suggesting and proposing is that EBCAM hire a part-time or per diem production assistant, cutting back her hours, which would reduce the department's budget by approximately $13K per year. And if the production assistant was added at a rate of $15 per hour for 8 hours per week, then the yearly expenditure would be $6,240 a year, hence saving EBCAM and the town of East Bridgewater approximately $6,860. I think Ann did quite a good job with her research. I can definitely understand. She has a granddaughter. She wants to spend some time taking care of her granddaughter because her daughter has to go back to work. So that being said, Zach and I are in favor of the idea, and we're hoping that you guys will be as well.
Charlie, anything to add?
Just we'll need a formal job description.
Yes.
For the per diem person, and then the wage rate. We can, so it'd be part of whenever we get the personnel policies together, the final version, but we'll want those things in place as part of this.
Understood. We'll
When does
definitely
Ann
do
want
that.
this to start?
Beg your pardon?
When does Ann expect us to start?
She didn't set a specific timeline because she knew that you guys would want to look into it and all that. I'm assuming within the next month or so.
Yeah, I don't have an issue
No.
with it at all. I
Yeah.
mean, I think as long as we can, like Charlie said, get something written up and find someone, right? that
I
fits
don't
that.
think we're gonna have too much of a problem. We have
Okay.
Bridgewater State right down the street.
Right.
We have plenty of video production folks from there. And we have several people in town that I'm sure would be interested in a little extra money working Fridays covering events, so.
All right. All right, so, we
Yeah.
do a motion on that, or?
I did.
Oh, yeah,
Yep,
okay.
we did a motion on
And
that.
second?
Yep.
All right, any further discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
good to go.
Good luck, Ann.
Have fun with Maddie.
She's adorable.
Oh, she's the cutest little thing. She was at the pancake breakfast yesterday.
All right, moving on.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Ed Gannon Jr. and Jacob Edward Gannon as animal control officers for the period of March 15, 2023 through June 30th, 2024.
Second?
Motion's made second, discussion, did we just do this?
That's what I thought.
We did this last meeting, but the dates were incorrect.
Oh, okay,
The state goes by different dates than the town does, so
Okay.
we just had to switch it, that's
I
all.
got you. All right, motion made second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Ed Gannon Jr. and Jacob Edward Gannon as Inspector of Animals for the period of May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024.
Second?
Motion made second, all in favor?
Aye.
So one locks them up and the other one just inspects them.
Yep.
Different animals.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the request of the Fire Chief Tim Herron for the quarterly ambulance billing abatements through March 2023 in the amount of $33,159.22.
Second?
Motion made second, discussion?
No, this is normal.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah,
this
we've been
each
doing this
quarter.
for quite a while now.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the request from Lenore Christensen of the East Bridgewater Garden Club to put a sign on municipal property from May 20th, 2023 through May 27th, 2023 to advertise the garden club plant sale.
Second?
Motion made second, any discussion?
They've been doing this for quite a while, too.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the request of Lenore Christensen of the East Bridgewater Garden Club for the use of the Town Hall parking lot in green for the purpose of plant garden sale fund support.
Second?
Motion made second,
I assume that's the same dates.
Same day, I was gonna say,
May
right?
20th and through
Yep.
May 20th.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
The,
Oh,
Oh, additional.
wait, no,
this,
I got
the number 7 that you just approved, she's actually requesting to use the electronic sign as well,
okay.
so.
Who's in
it's-
charge of that, DPW?
Yes, but
Yeah.
you approve it,
Rob
I
can.
send an email to Rob, and then
Okay.
Rob gets it done, if it's available.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'll just add the use of the electronic sign during
thank
that
you.
period of time. Just to finish that number right there, the funds support the high school scholarship and activities of the club. Set up as Friday, May 26, 2023, day of the event Saturday the 27th, 2023, from 9 to 3. Rain date Sunday, 28th, 2023, same time, I assume.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the request of Southeastern Regional Service Group to award contracts to the bidders listed under Surge DPW Services IFB for the 12-month period beginning March 1st, 2023.
Second?
Motion made second, discussion?
This was approved at the last selectmen's meeting as well. The numbers were incorrect, so now we have the correct numbers, and
Good to go.
you just need to approve it again.
All right. All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve, to place a historical sign at the old graveyard at the Sage and Rock Farm,
Second.
which you have in your package.
Discussion?
This is,
When the-
the bicentennial committee is just to try and put something up there so people can recognize the importance of that area. I think we'll also be coming in front of the board, to put another one up on one of the other graveyards later on in the season.
Where you get it done?
What?
Who's doing it? Who's building it?
We are contracted it out.
So it's already been, you
No.
already contracted it, or you?
No, we're waiting for approval.
Sure you are.
Listen, I had a
Long as you
meeting
didn't
with
go
the
up there
chairman of the
I think it's a great
Historic
idea. I
Commission.
think it's a great idea. I think it should be all over, you know, you go like, different towns and they have, they have them in different areas that say, hey, this is what this area
Exactly.
is. And,
They probably already did it through their bicentennial.
well, I don't know about that. You know, they've been-
That's
some
the
of
only
them
way
have
we'd be
done-
able to afford it.
Right, if you started this project like when you first got on
I did.
here about 50 years ago?
I did.
then-
200 years
I
ago.
did. I was here at the original. I was part of the signing of the,
part of
I was gonna
original
say-
covenant.
The sale.
Yeah, I think I
Original
saw you on
covenant
this
for the
sale.
town.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Very familiar
Mr.
looking.
Human Relations person, I would like to file grievance against these two.
You're not a protected class.
I didn't think so.
Okay, well, motion's been made, a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah, I had a meeting with the chairman of the Historic Commission. He was
Did you?
very
Oh,
much in
really?
favor of
Right,
this,
was
yeah.
Isn't that between the sheets?
It was,
Hey, hey, hey.
it was this morning over coffee.
We're gonna need an NR on this.
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead, go for it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's it.
Aye, aye.
Announcements,
I have one
okay?
that Lee put on here. A Hand Up Mattress Recycling is scheduling a mattress collection event for East Bridgewater on Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. They will come to your house and pick up your mattresses and/or box spring for $50. You have to register. The website is www.handupmattresses.com/s/appointments. Or you could call 774-271-8744.
Yeah, good deal. All right.
Have they delivered the new mattresses yet from the sale they had over there, so people can get them
I
out?
don't know.
Right, that'd be good.
Usually if you buy a new one, I think they
They
take
take
it.
Well, I
It's
don't
when
know
you
if
have
they-
one that you need to get rid of.
Right, they are
I
expensive.
don't do
too,
that
if you get
anymore.
rid of them.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Just one item. The Finance Committee, the Town Accountant, the Director of Assessing, we're all working on trying to get a budget presented for a town meeting in May. While our revenues certainly were solid enough, or projected, the requests that came in from the departments outweigh the amount of revenue we're going to have available for fiscal '24. So we're trying to make adjustments in the budget requests to see if we can come in with a balanced budget the first week of, or second week of April. One of the items that the school department is asking for under its operating budget is a series of emotional guidance counselors, not, for college or, type of thing, but given what students went through during the pandemic, and we were talking about comfort dogs, for instance, as an example of the needs of the community, they had asked through ARPA for $300,000 as part of their operating budget for fiscal '24 and fiscal '25. I would say certainly there's a little doubt in my mind that come fiscal '26, they would be asking for that money to come from the town rather than from ARPA. The need is great. The request falls certainly within the wheelhouse of ARPA. The problem, as I just mentioned, is that approving this, and the Board of Selectmen has the final decision to make about ARPA. ARPA committee should be finishing its recommendations in the next few days and presenting them to the Board of Selectmen, is that we place ourselves in a hole $300,000 in fiscal '26 right off the bat, because ARPA won't be available for then. And the school will be asking, I'm sure, for that money as part of their normal operating budget. On the other hand, we have, at least as of a few days ago, approximately $1 million deficit between what was requested and what's going to be available. And so, it's a budget gimmick in the sense that could help if the Board of Selectmen did approve use of the $300,000 for fiscal '24 for the counselors, understanding that we place ourselves in that bind in a couple of years. But it may be a situation where we say, we need to solve this coming year's problems first. We'll get to fiscal '26 and we'll have to solve those problems. But we won't get there without solving the problems for this coming year. It's not on the agenda. I'm not asking for the board to take any sort of vote on this. I think there'll be a few other things I need the board to make some decisions about in the next few days, either late this week or early next week, depending on everyone's schedules in connection with the budget and such. But I wanted the board to fully consider the idea that even before making decisions about any of the other applications that are in, that the board make a decision about the $300,000. And it's twofold. One is, its use as ARPA, it's a legitimate use, it's a good use, but also, again, as a financial consideration that would help balance the budget for fiscal '24. It doesn't cover the whole gap between revenues and expenditures, but it makes a big step towards doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's a need there. I mean, it's catch-22, right? Like, we talked about, occurring expenses.
Reoccurring
Yeah,
expenses.
reoccurring expenses going forward, which, was one of the criterias. But it'd be interesting, too, to see the reaction of that opera committee as well,
Well, they've already had recommended this.
Oh, did they? Okay.
They
We
recommended.
just haven't seen it.
Oh, we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you haven't gotten the full list, but the schools
good.
were with them more than a month ago, and they voted, I
Yeah.
think, pretty much right there at that
Oh.
meeting to recommend.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I
No.
mean, as long as we've got the support, we don't want to go outside of kind of the
No.
scope of what we
You-
said.
You've gone to, I believe, most of the ARPA meetings. Now, was there any other requests that would not have been approved based on the fact that they were reoccurring expense? Because if so, then we may find ourselves into a bind.
Offhand, I cannot think of anything that was on that list that was a recurring
I looked at
expense.
the list the other day. I didn't
Right,
s-
I did too, but
And it
I don't
solves
know
a
how to
right now
vote on them,
problem.
though.
Yeah,
We have a problem right now,
Great.
and this helps to solve
creates a
that.
new one
And
in a
it's a
couple
need.
of
It
years.
creates a new one, but like Charlie said, we deal with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean.
Our eyes are open, we know what.
Right,
Yep, and it's a need. I mean, we can see.
It's
it
definitely-
absolutely
it's a
is.
definite
Yeah,
need.
there's no
Yeah.
doubt. So, I mean, I certainly support
So
that.
I'll bring the board back at some point again,
Okay.
based on your schedules, to vote on that, and maybe a couple of other items in connection with the budget.
All right. And is the finance committee still meeting tomorrow?
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you.
It's Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday?
I think it's Wednesday.
Oh, I thought it was tomorrow. I had it written down for tomorrow, too.
I could be wrong.
You're never wrong.
Is it tomorrow?
ARPA's tomorrow, FinCom's
Wednesday,
Oh,
okay.
it comes Wednesday.
And it's the joint FinCom and Capital,
Ah,
Okay.
so they'll be there too.
all right. Board discussion?
I'm good.
Nothing? Nothing going on with bicentennial? You don't bring
There's
anything
a
up?
lot, but I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Oh, jeez, great.
I don't think there's anything before next meeting.
Okay. Better not be.
How'd the pancake breakfast go?
Pancake breakfast was great. I don't have an exact count of people, but they were talking like 600. Raffle table did really well. It was really nice to be back in the community and doing that again. The schools were very generous with everything they did to help us out. We had to cook the pancakes outside. We can't cook them inside like we used to, but everything. We used to run gas piping. Can't do that anymore. But it really, it worked out fine. I think it was.
Could you just use the go in the kitchen?
We don't know, so we cook it, but like the pancakes were special
Grills?
propane
Oh, okay,
grills
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
we
Griddles or
use,
whatever,
griddles, yeah.
yeah.
So, no, it was a great,
Yeah, it's a good
Great
call.
day.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Perfect.
You?
Again, I've got nothing again. I think this is two.
Motion
meetings in a
motion
row.
to adjourn, Mr. Chairman, before you
make a
change
note
your
of that
mind.
in the minutes.
All right, yes. Motion's been made.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See you, everybody. Oh, he banged the.